What happened to Kris Dunn? Let's get into this.
Dosage. Oh yeah, I work with the medics. I'm about to get you injected. I got a couple connections so I can get you prosthetics. Okay.
Quickly before we get the video started, if you guys enjoy this video and want to see more NBA content just like this one, hit that subscribe button and that post notification bell. Anyways, back to the video. Kris Dunn was drafted with the number 5 overall selection in the 2016 NBA draft. And at the time, Kris Dunn was seen as one of the better young players in that year's draft and potentially the best player in that year's draft. When the Minnesota Timberwolves originally drafted Kris Dunn, they thought they had their franchise point guard going forward. There was just a ton of hype around his name. Really what most people loved about Kris Dunn going into the NBA was number 1, he was a fantastic defender in college, and a lot of people thought that would translate very well into the NBA, which it did overall. But also, besides his great defense, on the offensive side, he also showed some great skills as well. He had an ability to score the basketball pretty effectively in college, where he did most of his damage driving all the way to the basket and finishing around defenders with crafty layups. Also was pretty athletic and had the ability to posterize some players and dunk over some players as well in college. Now, of course, once he got to the next level in the NBA, of course his athleticism wouldn't be as pronounced, as most people in the NBA have similar athleticism to him. But either way, his athleticism was certainly seen as a plus. On the offensive side, Kris Dunn also had a pretty nice mid-range jump shot to his game as well. He did struggle a little bit with his three-point shot, but based on the fact that he had a good mid-range shot and as well as his jump shot form was seen as pretty good, most people weren't that nervous about it and thought once he got to the NBA, he would continuously work on his three-point shot and eventually get to a point where he would at the very least be serviceable. In terms of his passing and playmaking ability, he wasn't necessarily seen as a fantastic passer or playmaker, but he also at the same time certainly had the skill to run the NBA offense. In terms of just running the pick and roll, he ran the pick and roll very effectively, but also just calming everyone down, finding players for wide open shots, maybe in the corner for 3, cutting to the basket for an easy dunk or layup or whatever. Kris Dunn was certainly seen as a serviceable point guard in terms of his passing and playmaking ability. And overall, going into the draft, there were just so many different things to love about Kris Dunn. But after a fantastic college career, in the NBA in his rookie season at least, Kris Dunn struggled pretty tremendously. In his rookie season, he only averaged 3.8 points per game on an abysmal 37% shooting from the field, 2.1 rebounds, and also adding 2.4 assists to his game for the Timberwolves. Now, this was certainly a very disappointing season. For any rookie averaging those numbers, of course they would never be seen as good numbers, but especially for a guy who was drafted with a top 5 overall pick and also seen to be one of the better players in that year's draft and just all the hype he had around his name, this was certainly a very disappointing season for Kris Dunn, but also of course for the Timberwolves. But although Kris certainly had a terrible rookie season, there were some other teams that were interested in Kris Dunn's potential. At that point, maybe you can get him for a little cheaper because a lot of people thought he was a bust already just 1 year in. And in his second season, in the 2017 NBA season, the Chicago Bulls actually made a pretty big deal and ended up getting Kris Dunn to their roster. And in his second season and his first season with the Bulls, he definitely improved pretty tremendously. With an increase in minutes and just increase in opportunity in general, Kris Dunn averaged 13.4 points per game on 43% shooting from the field, 4.2 rebounds, and also adding 6 assists to his game. Now, of course, this wasn't completely fulfilling the potential that a lot of people saw for Kris Dunn, but certainly after an abysmal rookie season, and of course when you have that bad of a season, it's most likely due to your loss of confidence, the fact that Kris Dunn could just pick himself up and put up some pretty decent numbers in his second season was certainly something that a lot of people saw as a positive. And at that point, a lot of people just thought maybe the Timberwolves weren't the right team for Kris Dunn, and maybe with Chicago he could flourish. Because although he was putting up okay to decent numbers, and he really showed why he was drafted with a top 5 pick in certain games, in terms of just blowing up offensively, playing fantastic defense basically throughout the entire season, always guarding the opposing team's best player, completely locking them down. There's so many different things that Kris was showing in his second season that had so many different people excited about him going forward. But unfortunately for Kris Dunn, his 2017 NBA season with the Bulls would be his best season of his career. The year after that, in the 2018 NBA season, Kris Dunn's numbers went down to around 11 points per game. In the 2019 NBA season, his numbers went down even further to 7 points per game. And in the 2020 season, he actually only played 4 games with the Hawks and he only averaged around 1.2 points per game, but that was basically on no minutes. But after those 4 games in 2020, after that, he's basically been out of the league ever since. But how does that even happen? How does a player go from a top 5 pick, where not only was he a top 5 pick, but a lot of people actually had some very high expectations for him based on his talent, to a guy who's out of the league in just a few years? Well, the first reason in my opinion why Kris Dunn struggled so significantly was confidence. In my opinion, I think confidence confidence is probably the most important thing in sports in general, not only the NBA. Of course, talent is the most important thing, but when you get to that NBA level or NFL level or whatever major sport that you're at, once you get to the top level, everybody's super talented. And at that point, the thing that really separates players is confidence. Even when you look at the best guys in the NBA, you talk about Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, all these guys have some stretches of games where they're just completely off and maybe they lose their confidence. But what makes them so great is they eventually regain their confidence either by putting in the work or just truly knowing that they're that good of a player. But I think the fact that Kris Dunn got off to such a terrible start in his rookie season really took a ton of confidence away from Kris Dunn. And although he definitely recovered in his second season and showed some stuff, the amount of confidence that he lost in his rookie season was very significant and he really just never recovered from it. And that's the biggest reason, in my opinion at least, why Kris Dunn just completely never turned out to the player he really should have been. But to his credit, although he wasn't necessarily playing well offensively and certainly was struggling basically throughout his whole NBA career, on the defensive side he definitely was a great defender, and in my opinion the fact that he was such a good defender was the main reason why he was in the NBA even as long as he was, even though it wasn't that long for a top 5 pick especially. But going forward for Kris Dunn, I do think he's probably going to get another opportunity in the league, especially with all the new health and safety protocols where basically everybody's getting signed to the NBA. I wouldn't be surprised if he got re-signed to a team. But do I think Kris Dunn could potentially be an NBA player long term going forward? Of course, I think he has the talent to do so. I think he's proven it in college, and also I think he proved it that one season with the Bulls. Where I think Kris Dunn could provide value now in the NBA is of course his great defensive ability. Every team in the NBA always needs more defenders on their team, and Kris Dunn has really proven early on into his NBA career that he's certainly an elite defender in this league in my opinion. But although he's such a good defender, the reason why he isn't in the NBA is his offensive ability and his lack of offensive ability, to be honest. So maybe this time off for Kris could potentially be a good thing for him. Maybe he really works on his 3-point jump shot, his jump shot shooting in general, finishing around the basket, maybe running an offense a little bit better, and just really honing in on some skills that maybe he's been lacking upon. And maybe potentially if he actually puts in all that work during this time off that he has, maybe he can come back in the NBA once he gets another opportunity, because I think he will. But once that opportunity comes, maybe he can regain his confidence back and become somewhat of a good player. I don't think Kris Dunn is ever going to live up to those expectations he had, but I do think Kris Dunn could potentially be a really good point guard coming off the bench for you that just provides great defense, has the ability to run the offense, maybe has the ability to score in bunches at times, but honestly I don't really see him being much more than that. But we'll see what happens going forward for Kris Dunn. Hopefully he does get another opportunity, which I personally think he will, and if he does get that opportunity, hopefully he takes advantage of it. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. In your opinion, what is the reason why Kris Dunn fell off so quickly? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe and hit that post notification bell. It really helps me out a lot. Until the next time, peace out guys.
Dosage. Oh yeah, I work with the medics. I'm about to get you injected. I got a couple connections so I can get you prosthetics. Hope you can't go where I'm headed.